when their child was in the car seat, when they were younger, she would look in the car seat and they had these little, what was it? A Hawaiian shirt, and the button would pop open, and they'd say, "I'm not naked." And they're all like buttoned it up. So that's my new thing. If anybody has to groom me at all tonight, I'll be like, "I'm not naked." So get ready for that. If you decide to touch me and try to groom me, I feel welcome actually. So if I don't look right, she's taking me. Welcome everybody. Welcome to BirdCon 23. I'm super excited tonight because we've been able to we, because I'm a collective we. I keep meeting people who are like, yeah, this is going on, and I'm like, let me see your work, and they're like I don't screen people for this at all, but sometimes I do run into people whose shit just blows me away, and there's a lot of that happening tonight, so welcome and be prepared to have your socks blown off, and we'll probably break around 5:30ish. Please be sure to tip your bartenders and your servers. Let's thank Brad on sound. And on video. If you don't know, BirdCon, the entire, except for the first one I think, but BirdCon is actually videotaped, every single one of them. And if you need copies for your own archives or through marketing or whatever, Adam's usually really cool about cutting something down for you. So, but it will be posted in its entire form within the next couple of weeks. So watch for that. And then please also thank Kelly on the door. She's so kind because I asked at the last minute, although she does it often, I didn't ask her. And she said, so did you want to ask me? Do you have somebody for the door? Or would you like me to do it? I'm like, I love boundaries, this is awesome. Yes, would you please? And she said, yes. And I said, okay. And here we are. Do you have somebody to say it? Hey, Steve's right here, yo. This is very formal, can you tell? This is very fucking formal. So I'm the first reader tonight. Sometimes I don't read and sometimes I do. But tonight I really felt like I did this thing. The prompt, I had a prompt, and we actually prompted the writing group with writing class with Vivian Bukovic, that I co-facilitate stuff with, right? And so we threw out this writing prompt to other people about fairy tales, and I thought I'd just mess around with it when I got home, and I did, and this is what came up with, and I'm interested to know what I think about it. Because I don't always know what I think about it. But when I read it out loud, it might do something. So I'm going to read it to you. The relative primitivity of girl. The first time you are called to 7, it's your 7th birthday, and of course he is talking to you. Dairy Queen. 7 candles on your cake, 7 layers, 7 little heads the same size as yours, and 7 colors of those 3 tattoos bleed into the frosting you remember. 7 reasons something so sadistic could conduct the electricity of you through hole after hole, through layer after layer of heat-cured slurry, insulating everything that beats inside of you, so that no matter what that man does to you on his way from megahertz to gigahertz, you swallow your ABCs. And it takes only nanoseconds for you to get gone. Say the alphabet. Say the alphabet. Say the alphabet, you scream. Say it. But you get stuck on that 7th letter every time. The men, their names always start with G. Like grief. Like ghost. Like God. Who make you 1,000,000 times more girl, 1,000,000 times more gullible, 1,000,000 times more goddamn slippery than a boy body would be. There's no such thing as the primitivity of free space. There is no constant of proportionality that exists between electric displacement and electric field intensity in a given medium. See whatis.com. When your 7 years are born into this brain, with a dielectric constant, dimensionless, complex valued, your real and imaginary parts measured and denoted. Welcome, sevens. Thank you. I get so tired of values and being valued and judged, and I'm so fucking relieved that at least stuff is coming out about how women have been treated, women and girls have been treated all their fucking lives. You know, you can look like a little boy and still be fucked with like by a grown man. You can look like it doesn't matter what you look like, it has nothing to do with you or your sexuality or your desire or anything. It has to do with people having fucked up boundaries, and I hope anybody who hears this, reads this, or is into this knows that it's kind of fucking stop. So, I'm done with my part now. I'm super excited to introduce you to this first person. I met Josh a few times at different meetings around town, and got to actually have a real conversation with him one time, and I was completely blown away by the things he had to say about growing up in Portland, and the things that he had to say about, you'll hear it, I'm not going to tell you, you'll hear it. So let me introduce, Joshua was raised on government cheese on the streets of Portland. He found creative writing was a ladder through the pain. He's a writer and musician who believes that creativity is the language of God and the cure for trauma. Please welcome Josh Duluth. Yeah. Can I just stay here?
We gotta push that button on there. What? Oh, sorry. Yeah. Is it hiding the button? Yeah.
Oh, it's fine.
Tiny trick. Thank you, Tommy and Bert Tug, for giving me an opportunity to do a little bit of my work. And just get after it. This is an expert from a piece of fiction I'm working on called Stumptown Kids. Mo didn't leave his tent for 3 days. He read when he could, when the fever and tremors paused, when he could breathe a little and wet his lips with a touch of water before the dry heaves started again. There was nothing left to puke but a tiny splash of water and Snickers bar. Chocolate is the secret to curing yourself of junk. He had tried to kick before, thinking as all junkies do, especially teenage junkies, that it would be good to stop. That the constant hustle and grind, the thieving and prowling cars late at night when the rest of the world hid from the rain. His body was tired of those late night car rides with drunk old men. Those $20 blowjobs had to stop. His body hurt. His mouth torn at the corners and chapped from his constant return to Vaseline Alley, to the wall on 10th and Stark Street. He didn't want to be a wet mouth, an object of affection for pedophiles, but it was easy money. A year ago, before heroin and shame and the dampness of the street had taken a hold, before sores began appearing on his face, before he ritualistically began picking them, he was a handsome teenage boy. When he sat on Stark Street, cars began stopping for him. They circled around the block, licking their lips like hyenas, pulling off to the side, leaving their headlights on so he could see the red glow of their taillights. It was the sign to approach. Sometimes they tapped the brakes to make sure that he noticed. Like there was any other reason a teenage boy would be hanging out on that corner longer than it takes to smoke a cigarette. He hated the way their cocks filled his mouth, many of them mean and forceful, grabbing his head and forcing their fullness into the back of his throat, tearing at the corners of his mouth until he gagged, then a short cough and breath, and then more, in and out until his mouth filled with the sticky thickness of their explosion. He always puked after. Opening the car door in alleys, along Marine Drive, up near Washington Park, always he puked and then he got paid. He started at $50 a blow, but his addiction made him desperate and less appealing, and they began to lower the price for his discomfort. And he had no fucking rule. He didn't get fucked, and he wouldn't fuck. Blowjobs and handjobs and domination. It was all the shame he could live with. It had been 3 days of hell inside of his tent. Rain poured down from the sky and seeped into his tent from all sides. He was drowning in rain and regret, shame and withdrawal. Sweat poured, the residue of junk from every pore in his body. His lips chapped from dehydration. He had set up a bucket system just outside of his tent and had been rushing into the showers to explode and fumigate his internal organs into the bucket. The river sounded like 1,000 water drums, and ghosts appeared at the corners of his eyes, and he read poems and decided to kick, to stop using heroin, to stop selling his body. This time, with his eyes split from a robbery and the Proverbs, he was finding the courage to suffer more than any other time in his life. And he didn't mind. He had a plan, and he held on to it through diarrhea and rainstorms, dry heaves and cold sweats, snickers and water breaks, through burning fire as the heroin made its way out of every pore in his body. He let it go, urged it out of him. He needed a clear head to track down his humanity amidst the rubble of his past. There was going to be a new day, but first he had to burn. We're gonna do one more. Trish grew up on the streets of Portland. She had her struggles with addiction, with needles and baggies, and days where her body was her only income, her only way to get the poison into her veins. But she found the outside in, a homeless youth shelter and clinic nestled on the edge of downtown Portland on 13th Avenue. Originally, it was housed in a tiny home. There was a day shelter. It was open from 9 to 6 every day. It was a place where any kid could go to rest, drink coffee and soda, eat ham and cheese sandwiches, and find a reprieve from the rain. It was a place to pause from the pain that etched itself into the faces of the young, tough, and vulnerable. When she was 16, Trish found the inn, and the people inside didn't have anything bad to say about her. She, like the rest of the teenage junkies, used the bathroom in the morning to shoot up. She always felt a little bad. She didn't like breaking the rules of the one place that opened its doors to street kids in this town. But a guilty conscience is no match for an addiction. Some kids don't want to stop getting high. Some kids don't want to sleep on the floor, on the rows of gleaming plastic mattresses that laid out for resting. They were too good, or too proud, or too strong, or too stupid to accept charity. But when the winter set in, and the rain began to fall, there wasn't a street kid in Portland who didn't use the outside in for something. Trish was one of those punk rock girls. She hit the streets running from a child molesting father who couldn't keep his hands to himself, and it was an easy transition for her to move from incest to prostitution. Her identity was defined by her thin, petite, fragile body, her worth in her hair and her eyes, but her mind was a razor's edge, and she cut through the world around her with a fiery rage. Her first needle, it was not easy. Her father being a doctor, she filled hospitals and psychiatric drugs, but the boy from Frisco was so loving, ready to die for her, ready to show her how he had learned to cope with the scars of his anonymity and the remnants of his family pain. I can do it for you, he told her with a sparkle in his eye. It made her feel safe, and she closed her eyes and extended her arm. She was, after all, searching for an escape. Her slide from a good student at a private school to teenage junkie took 2 whole months. The needle is like water slide that takes you to a sewage plant. By the time she was broken, torn down to the worn-out shoals of her docks, she didn't mind the comfortable buzz of kids cuddling and joking with one another. Staff were always kind, never pushy. Somehow they knew that the children in their care required a courage to care anyway. They gave what they could and checked all weapons at the door. No one had to worry about getting stabbed inside that little house on 13th Avenue. When and if a kid was ready to come up for air, you could go to school here. You could go to an independent living program, start addiction counseling, get an STD check. Someone was always there to help when you were ready. These days, Trish has been sober for 7 years. She got into the inn and asked for help, maybe because she remembered she was smart enough to run out of the backs of old men's cars. She wanted out of the rat race of her meth addiction. After only 3 months, one winter standing in the rain with a miniskirt, ripped black tights, waiting to see those taillights flash red, telling her it was time to be her body, her pretty face, not so pretty at the end, worn and weary with old lady eyes and scabs on her chin. She walked in broken and they healed her. put her back together. They gave her an apartment. They gave her art therapy, helped her with her finances, and put her in school. After she graduated from New Avenues for Youth, they even gave her a job at the inn, because she wanted to give other kids what she had been given. Complete the circle and keep the world turning. When Ghost walked into the shelter on Monday morning, Trish was pleasantly surprised and a little nervous. He was one of the tougher kids, known for settling scores with his fists. Everybody knew the boy. They had watched him sit outside on his BMX bike enticing clients with his wares, but he never came inside. He never checked his backpack at the door and plopped himself into a chair listening to his headphones, his eyes clear but distant. Trish knew the look. She could sense the change, the shift in a kid when the luster of freedom and city lights wore off, and a boy remained, confused, alone, afraid, and unsure. But a boy, not a hustler, not a drug dealer, a boy. He was searching for a way out. She kept glancing his way, watching him listen to his headphones, channeling whatever was on that little recorder in his hand. There was future in his eyes that hadn't been there before. There was an idea, a hope, that another life could be lived. Trish thought she saw it again.
Let's do it one more time for Josh, because that was fucking amazing. Yeah! Come on, Josh. That was amazing. Next is someone I've known for a while. We met in House Founder's basement in Dangerous Riders. And Chris has been a part of this Burnt Tongue institution from the very start. So I'm pretty happy to have her here. And Chris Tedabakis Price was born in Springfield, Massachusetts. She lives, teaches, and writes in Portland, Oregon. Christmas. Thank you. Yeah. Krista is a former Dangerous writer and currently in the body of the book workshop of Lydia Yukevich and many fine writers. She is a frequent reader of the Burnt Tongue series, and is published in Nail and the classic film of a man. She is closer than ever to finishing her book. Teaching a love story. She has 2 children and 1 husband. Welcome, Krista Tedabakis.
Joshua, that was really powerful. Thank you. And thank you, Darby, as always. Thanks for always keeping me in mind. So, I was writing a book, kind of a memoir about my experiences teaching at Heald College. And it was coming along fine, and there were a lot of stories about my students. And then Heald was bought by a for-profit Corinthian college, and things got bad, really bad, and then my book took a turn, and so it's about me, but it's also about the impact of for-profit on students. And I got a reminder just tonight. I was standing at the bar, of course, standing at the bar, and a former student came in from Heald College. Of course, I hadn't seen in a long time, and we were talking, and I offered to buy her a beer, and then finally I asked her, I said, "Are you in debt at all?" And she said, "I'm $54,000 in debt, and I don't have a degree." Okay, but I'm going to tell you about Renee's story now. It had been about 3 years since I taught Renee when I ran into her at the Bipartisan Cafe. Hi, Holly. It's a neighborhood coffee shop in Southeast Portland promoting community and bipartisan politics and pie. I was standing at the counter considering a slice of banana cream when Renee spotted me. She was walking by and saw me through the tall plate glass window. She came flying into the cafe and gave me a big hug. Skinny to begin with, she had lost even more weight. Her hair, which was blonde, was now an auburn color, so it took me a minute to recognize her. "Mrs. Price, how are you?" Renee asked. Down her thin arm were the tattooed names of her 4 children. "Good, Renee, how are you? How's your family?" The cafe was bustling. Kids scattered blocks in the kids' corner, and people sipped their lattes and worked on laptops. The moms tried to chat with other moms in between interruptions from their children. The whole place smelled like pie. "They're good," Renee said. "I actually think about you sometimes." She hesitated a minute. "Can I ask you something?" Always a scary question. "Of course. I know you read a lot of papers, but by any chance, do you remember mine?" For once, I didn't have to hesitate, and I didn't have to lie. Yes, Renee, I do. I will never forget your story." The assignment was pretty standard. It was their first essay assignment of the quarter in the English 105 class. They were to write a personal narrative, tell the story of something significant that had happened. It could be a lesson learned or a wake-up call or a special memory that had held importance in their life. My thinking was that if I could get students to write about something that was important to them, they would be more interested in rewriting and revising. I could show them how to edit until the meaning was absolutely clear, something they could be proud of. Given the population at Yale College, I had read some pretty heartbreaking stories. Domestic violence, drug abuse, ill-equipped parenting. I had read a lot of difficult stuff, but nothing prepared me for Renee's story. I'm never certain of the absolute truth of a student's story. Sometimes it doesn't quite ring true, but that's not the point. I know there is some degree of truth, some element of reality. It is their truth, and I take it at face value. Renee's story began when she woke up, thinking about how she was going to manage to pay her bills, knowing she was broke. From her bed, she called the bank to check her balance, to see if she could somehow make it another month. Renee had 3 children and a good-for-nothing boyfriend. The automated voice on the other end of the line delivered some shocking news. In what must have been a bank error, the voice told Renee she had $1,000 more than she knew she had. This was the early 90s, and electronic banking was not as sophisticated as it is now. She wasted no time. Throwing the kids in the car, Renee drove to the bank and immediately withdrew the extra $1,000. No expensive boutiques, fancy spas, or pricey restaurants. Her first stop was at Payless Shoes to buy shoes for her 2-year-old, then on to Walmart for new clothes for everyone. The big splurge was McDonald's, where, she said, everyone, even the 2-year-old, could sense something very exciting was happening. The rest went to pay those overdue bills. Renee lived in Utah at the time. 4 years passed. The bank had never contacted her about the $1,000. She now lived in Oregon with a kind boyfriend and a full-time job. She loved her job. In fact, she had received a promotion and a raise. In her haste to get home and share the good news with her family, Renee drove over the speed limit. She got pulled over by a police officer who ran a check on her driver's license. Utah and Oregon have reciprocity, meaning offenses committed in Utah can be shared with law enforcement in Oregon. Evidently, the bank had discovered what Renee did, and there was a warrant out for her arrest. Renee was immediately extradited to Utah. Immediately. No phone calls, no goodbyes to her family. I assume there was a trial and she eventually was in touch with her family, but Renee didn't write about that. Just about the 5 years she served in prison. Renee was pregnant with her 4th child at the time of her arrest. Of course, by the time I met Renee in my English class, this was all in the past. She had served her time. She was still with her kind boyfriend who cared for the kids while she was in prison. Renee had studied criminal justice while at Yale. I had to know, Renee, are you working? You're gonna suspense. She looked out the window, then back at me, dark half circles under her eyes. Yeah, part-time, at the nail salon. It was hard to get a job, you know, with my record, but it's close by and the kids are still little, so it's good. I didn't always encounter happily ever afters when I ran into former students. Sometimes it's anything but. Deep debt, mental illness, shake jobs not related to their degree, relapses. It makes me uncomfortable to think about whether college was the right thing for some of these students. Did they ever really have a shot, so obviously unprepared for college? The company line used to be that everyone deserved a college education, a chance to improve their lives, break the cycle of poverty or addiction, or whatever had generationally held them down. It was not our call to make. I used to believe it. I tried hard not to think about how much money the school was making off these students. Renee and I hugged goodbye. I could feel her bones through her heavy coat. I wished her well. Hey, I said as she turned to go, can I treat you to a piece of pie? Gotta go, can't be late for work, take care. She stopped and looked at me, then ran back for another hug. Goodbye, she said, and thank you.
Thank you, Krista. Isn't that heartbreaking? That's a real story. That's a real shit that's happening. And it's just getting worse. Vote. Fight. Don't give up. And lead. Now, I'm completely delighted to introduce this next writer. Annalee Barkley is a young photographer and writer from Long Island, New York. She studies psychology and English at University of San Diego, and she asks you with love to be mindful of your plastic consumption due to the state of our beloved ocean. Welcome, Annalee.
Hi. Thank you, Dami, for welcoming me here. This is my first reading ever, so. So if I sound nervous, it's because I am. This is a short fiction piece that I recently workshopped in class with Lydia Yuknovich and Chuck Polinick in the Lie Factory. And I edited it down for time purposes, so hopefully it makes sense. It's called Pyrrhic Victory. We were the first kids on the block to get our own phone line because Mother was always on with the plumber. This was my freshman year of high school, around the time she got her nose job, and I started to realize things. Like how she would go out for meetings with this plumber instead of him coming to our house where our pipes were. Or how sometimes when I'd come into the kitchen for a snack, the whites of her eyes would be red, hazel of irises changed to green from the contrast, and she'd be sniffling. She'd cover the mouthpiece of the phone and tell me she'd talk to me when she's off, avoiding my gaze. She's never been good at making eye contact. Even when she looks at you, it's not at your eyes, but at your ears or stray hair, something close to your face, but not your eyes, never your eyes. Grandma watched us when Mother was out at these meetings with the plumber. My older sister Lori holed up in our room to do coke, or snuck out through our window, climbed down the trellis to get in the waiting cars of boys. I'd sit downstairs with Grandma while she chain-smoked parliaments in a recliner and watched soap operas on the television. I read the things they carried. It was a school assignment, but the story had me deeply focused. I was learning how to dehumanize the enemy. During television breaks, Grandma told me stories I had heard before. She liked to remind me that I didn't want to be born, that my mind changed somewhere between the womb and the world. My mass of black hair was visible for hours. They had to pull me out with forceps. I began to cry and didn't stop for 6 straight months. Colic, she'd say, smoke tumbling out of her mouth. One of Mother's meetings with the plumber lasted for so long that I began to worry. I asked where she was, why it was taking so long, but Grandma had fallen asleep. When I muted the television, I heard our bedroom's window opening creak upstairs, the soft bumps of the trellis hitting the house as Lori climbed down it. I thought about how Mother used to chase me around the house when I got mad over something, anything. She'd come after me with wiggling fingers, threats to my ticklish body. She'd reach me and jump on top, not a tackle, but sort of laying her body over me like a sudden blanket that was at once both comforting and suffocating. While she tickled me, I'd giggle but try to escape. yelling for her to stop when I could catch my breath. She'd kiss me, bite me softly, cuddle me. Then we'd lie there like two lovers after a go, except she was my mom and I was her daughter, herself in some new skin. Sometimes when I'm upset, I bunch into a ball and press my fists against my eyes so I can see space projected on the lids. I did this on the floor under the suspended footrest of Grandma's recliner where her bony body breathed softly, rhythmically. There can be so much largeness in such small places. When Mother finally came home, a short, fat man who wore a suit and a thin gold chain around each wrist helped her through the front doorway. She had a bandage across her nose and most of her cheeks. Her body leaned against his and her eyes were almost shut. When he noticed me on the floor, his face hardened. I didn't recognize him. "Go get your mother some water," he barked. I crawled out from under the recliner and scurried into the kitchen. As I filled a glass up with tap water, I tried to think of who this man was, what had happened to my mother's face, and why he had been involved. A tickle crept up my neck, and I felt the spread of red across my face, felt stupid. When you're in it, when it's your mom, it's not so easy to realize, because the realization of a thing is always worse than the thing itself. By the time I got back with water, Mother had been laid on the couch, and the plumber waddled out the front door, shutting it before I could think of anything to say to him. I placed the glass on the coffee table covered in magazines and other cups next to her. When I looked down at Mother, she reminded me of a fucked up soldier lying in a war hospital, bandage across her face, head lolling back and forth as she slept, but she seemed a lot less brave than the men that I had read about. During the next week, I'd come home from school and find our mother's soldier still on the couch in the dimly lit living room, television on, her eyes barely open. I changed the bandages on her face because there was no one else to do it. I lifted the gauze and took note of the swelling, though I wasn't familiar with the prognosis of a nose job. I had never broken a bone before, but couldn't understand how someone would willingly go through this, choose this for herself. Only now do I consider that she didn't choose this, that he did, which makes it worse, sadder. Lori wasn't home for most of that time. I finished the things they carried and wrote an essay about the relationship between violence and memory, how it affects storytelling. I fed myself with frozen meals Grandma dropped off for me and sat in her recliner, watched whatever Mother left on the television, even though she was knocked out from painkillers most of the time. I lied under my bed and played records on our stereo, tried to find a way to live in the sound for a bit. When I went to sleep, I left the window open for Lori to climb through, so the squeaking of swollen wood wouldn't wake me. Mother's energy returned sometime during the second week, or maybe she wasn't popping Vicodin in as often. She began to make dinners for me, simple things like pasta or sandwiches, which we ate quietly together on the couch, while the evening news broadcasted stories of missing children and recalled shampoos. On the day I got my essay returned to me in class, I came home to find her in a giddy mood. She jumped off the couch when I came through the door and ambushed me with a hug. She asked what kind of snack I wanted. "Ice cream?" she asked excitedly, eyebrows raised like she'd offered me one of her painkillers. "We don't have any," I said. "Oh, well we can go get some. Where's your sister?" "I don't think she's come home from school with me even once this year, Mom." She bit her bottom lip and looked around the living room like she wanted to find something for us to do. I stood there with my backpack still on, eyeing the stairs, wanting to retreat up to my room. She reached her left hand up to scratch at a new, smaller bandage covering just the bridge of her nose, and I noticed a small diamond ring around her finger, the appropriate finger for that type of jewelry. "What's that?" I pointed. "The new bandage? The larger ones aren't necessary anymore, so I switched." "The ring, Mom." She muttered something about forgetting to spin it around. "Just a gift from a friend, sweetie. Do you want to go out to get ice cream?" I stared at her. "Do you think I'm stupid?" "What? Why would you ever ask me that? You get straight A's and read more books than anyone I've ever met." She giggled nervously, wrung her hands together. "That's an engagement ring," I said. She cast her eyes down, hurt by my shortness. Then she formed a smirk and her eyes met mine. I felt my heart drop into my stomach and my skin began to itch as I watched her fingers dance towards me, ready to attack. Before I could even drop my backpack, she launched towards me, and I ran up the stairs as fast as my legs could take me. Mother bounded behind me, legs longer, gaining speed. She was laughing and called after me to lighten up, that she just wanted to have fun with me, how this always used to cheer me up. I sprinted down the hall and into my room, but she caught up as I reached my mattress, so I catapulted myself, twisting midair to land on my backpack. My legs were instinctively extended, ready to block any attack from above. It's nearly impossible to truly access a sense through memory. You can't hear the crunch a nose makes when it smashes into a knee unless it's happening right near you. And you can't taste the copper heat of blood until it drips into your mouth from above. But you can remember the image of your mother screaming, holding her bleeding nose, wide eyes marking you as a stranger, and you wonder how it can be that there is merely a moment between extremes, a condensed second in which all possibilities are held, and then the instant collapse into difference, into loss. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Amy. See? Like, this is, I don't even know. Your first time? Fuck you. With love. We have somebody that was supposed to be here, Sean Davis. I just want to say a couple of words. Sean Davis is an amazing guy. He'll be here in May, but he couldn't make it off the mountain. He's stuck in snow. And he wanted to stay. There's a blizzard coming, so he wanted to stay home with his wife and daughter. I'm like, okay, do that, and come back in May. So next we have, this one. Thank you for coming back to Portland. We need you. Yeah, you're welcome. Not that I'm saying, like, who am I to say, welcome back to Portland? I'm not even from here. Dia Blake is a work in progress. 1 year ago, she chose to rewrite her future and has been spreading her wings every day since. A recent transplant back home to Portland from Nevada, she's a recovering aircraft mechanic and a devoted mother. Okay, she is humbled by the forces of Lydia Yuknovich, Ariel Gore, and Jenny Forrester, who have taught her how to best bring her voice forth in various workshops. She is filled with determination to find her true self-worth while shedding years of feeling slightly stubborn, off course, and unseen. This is her time. Welcome. Give it up for Dia Blake.
Thank you, Donnie. Thank you for your time. Thank you, everyone that's already read. You're fucking amazing. This is not fiction. What kind of woman chooses a man that cringes at her elemental nature? Every time you frowned at the words coming out of my mouth, it scarred my soul. I didn't want to believe my inherent nature offended you, so I scaled my language back. You told me once you had never imagined you would be with a woman that had tattoos and smoked. I should have listened to what you were really saying. I did most of my maturing and growing in the decade and a half I spent with you. I felt safe and capable of working through my demons in your arms, in the world we created together. The years I spent with you were beautiful and successful, I thought. Underneath all the I love yous, there was a subtle assault being waged upon my entire being. You said I love you freely and often, but you rewarded me when I looked more feminine and spoke and acted more like a lady. I came to you a riot girl and I left you a Stepford wife. I created myself in the image you repeatedly showed me you desired. Long hair, makeup, shiny fingernails, lady in the streets with all the hot sex in private. You would never initiate physical contact with me in public. That hurt. When I would rarely grab your hand behold, you would shine me on for a moment or two, and would drop my hand like a hot rock. I should have listened to your body language. You rubbed my inked skin like you could erase my past, my identity, my queer. I let you. It worked. I erased my identity for you, my power and spirit and strength. I allowed you to have what you wanted from me, and I hid the rest of myself in the corner of our closet, buried under shoes and my pain. And, oh, hey, what happened? Sorry. Buried under shoes and all the other things that I thought to hide the pain in my gut and in my slumped shoulders and my tired eyes and ever-present anxiety. I should have listened to what your fingers told me. I'm finally listening, and I'm pissed. I came to you broken, but naked in me. You took me as I was and loved me unconditionally, I thought. I really thought you did. So I ignored the frowns, the recoil, and the patina of disdain. I turned it into thoughts of you wanting me to achieve my fullest potential. I thought you wanted me to overcome all the others in my past that judged me harshly and found me lacking. I thought you supported me no matter what, that you celebrated with me all the things that made me a force. My passion and strength and conviction, and my do-good empaths for support. I ignored your body language and unspoken words and fingers until you started actually using your words and you woke me up. I sat there stunned with an aching hollow body that had bloated to fit all my sorrow and desperation. My mind couldn't process how my first aunt could tell me my dream was the stupidest idea I'd ever heard, and how having my words out in the universe, a dream you always knew I had, would threaten your very existence and security. How my words, my life lived, and the person I am scandalized you, shamed and disgusted you. You broke me. You chipped and hacked and pushed until I broke. You broke a beautiful, powerful, and strong woman that only asked for your love. A woman that took you for everything you ever were and would ever be. A woman who truly loved you and was without hesitation unconditional. A woman that meant it when she took her vows. A woman that was faithful in every way and bragged and crushed on you until the very last moment. So, what kind of woman chooses a man that cringes at her elemental nature? The kind that loves with her entire body and soul. The kind that only wants to be loved the same way in return. The kind that is deceived by fool's gold. The kind of woman that will never again sacrifice herself for a relationship. See, this kind of woman has the grace and presence to learn from her mistakes. This kind of woman will rise above yet again all that has conspired to destroy her. Stronger and better for it all. Beautiful, powerful, and fierce. All I know how to do is fight for my life. I'm no hand at this fight, and it is a fight I will win. Thank you.
And next, I met this guy a couple months ago down at Memorial Writing, where I tend to hang out on Tuesdays and Thursdays between noon and 4. It's downtown at 510 Southwest 3rd Avenue, Suite 101, in case you're interested. We actually have open writing hours there at Memorial Writing. Seriously, noon and 4, it's just a free space, you can come and hang out. But I met Dan and the crew from, oh my gosh, what's the name of the workshop? Live Factory. I suddenly went like, the Live Factory with Lydia and Chuck, and yeah, I like this guy. We started talking, and like, you need to read A Great Tongue, and they all said yes. So here we are, and I'm very excited. Dan Fraser is an entertainment journalist who has contributed to Entertainment Weekly, Playboy, Nylon, and Black Book, amongst others. His fictions appeared in Crime Factory, Abstract Jam, Blazebox. Originally a native of Tennessee, he now resides in Tacoma, Washington. And we're very happy that he traveled all the way down here. Welcome to Dan Fraser.
Years ago, when I was living in Los Angeles, I actually discovered Bert Tongue. And I said, wow, that's an amazing event. So it's very surreal to be here tonight. So thank you, Donnie. I really appreciate it. So I'm going to read you the first few pages of a story that was originally published in the 4th issue of a British literary mag called Abstract Jam. If you want to read the rest of it, you can download it for free at abstractjam.com, or just ask me for it and I'll listen to it. So it's called Flash. She sucks in her sunburnt belly as acid burns her throat and bile oozes between her teeth. With gravel digging in her knees, she looks up from the gutter. Yellow dribble hangs off her lower lip. Our eyes lock, and I want to tell her, don't worry, sweetheart. At least you're sober enough to hold up your own curls. On my fateful night, my extensions were dried spaghetti, and my camisole was a toddler's bib. Her friends are standing close enough to hear her, but not close enough to touch her. As her mascara smears, I want to bend over and say, darling, you have no reason to cry. You haven't been ditched yet like I was. Tonight, I'm in another seasonless city, following another meandering mob down blocked off streets with rows of bars. The sun is gone and the air is sticky, and for those who travel here, this is their vacation or break, an excuse to stay drunk and go wild, drink, wander, flirt, screw, repeat. But for me, this is just another notch. Getting around, I've learned that tourists wear those flowered shirts because vomit blends in with the patterns. And now my nose is immune to the mix of alcohol, urine, and spew. Every night this time of year, they all act the same. College kids, trailer park couples, biker gangs, middle-aged divorcees. They all come together without any goals, obligations, or morals. Everything is put on hold. Jobs, school, life. No time for second thoughts. Just saying, that much I do remember. A crowd gathers ahead and blocks the foot traffic. Oh, come on, says a dude with a pop collar and chiseled jaw. Do it, says another guy in a white visor and seersucker shorts. His companions, covered in Greek letters, support his plea by chanting, show us more, show us more. Sorry, I don't think so, snaps the brunette who doesn't look old enough to vote. With arms held high, these dudes showcase the girl a collection of plastic trinkets. Pushing each other out of the way, they bid by shaking and twirling the currency for tonight's lewd barter system. Though this works because silly girls always want what they don't have, and will trade anything for it, just like I did. These plastic beads that dangle from the bros' fingers, some are green and gold with charms, some large as Christmas tree bulbs, others small as marbles or pearls, some shaped as disco balls, others seashells or red hearts. But unlike these douchebags here, the professional pervs go online and buy beads in bulk, and they know the more different the better. A rare color or unique shape means higher stakes to obtain, make the girls go crazy, more outrageous acts performed, but only for the right treasure. The super pervs, they know if you hold the only string of beads with a mermaid pendant or plastic shot glass, then you control the party streets, ruler of sluts, king of deviants, all shall submit to your will or all at your power. The beads that aren't gifted tonight, leftovers of putrid propositions, the real pervs will box them up in attics, garages, and storage units, buried away behind dusty comic books, sci-fi DVDs, and Magic the Gathering cards. But unlike everything they're surrounded by, these beads are never forgotten. They're lying and waiting to be used again. These plastic beads mean so much tonight that tomorrow they'll be worthless, disposable. Hotel trash cans will overflow. That this is now, and this girl gazes at them, needs them, souvenirs for her regret or tokens of her regret. The circle of dudes stands before the girl in hopes of a flash, daring her spotlight for 2 whole seconds. She'll be the center of the world. Just saying, that's how it was for me before I became every daddy's worst nightmare. And you really can't blame her, because every girl wants to be famous. Every girl has dreams about walking down a red carpet in a Gucci gown with perfect makeup and bleached teeth, interviewed by E, featured in Us Weekly, but no one ever thinks about having fame for the wrong reason, or at least just saying, I never did. The beads swing back and forth, glistening in the streetlights. The poor thing reaches out, but the hands with the prizes pull back. The barbarians grunt, take it off, take it off. They'd make the wall on every side of her, shoulder to shoulder, all escapes blocked. Maybe I should warn this one, protect this one, stop her. But no, this girl is my bait tonight. Bless her heart. But her own stupidity may prevent the humiliation of so many more just like her. She must learn from her mistakes, just like I did.
Thank you, Dan. That's one hell of a way to write an unlikable character. That's fucking awesome. It's like, I want to kill that guy. Even if you know, that's awesome. And it is now intermission. We're going to take about 15 minutes and then we'll come back. And again, remember to tip your bartenders, say hi to each other, meet each other. We all have a lot of resources amongst each other, so introduce yourself. Not everybody, I think I'm an extrovert, but a lot of introverts are here. Like if you want to meet somebody, just tell me. I'll introduce you. I promise. Thank you. Hope you had a nice intermission. You're welcome. Thank you for the. Oh, let's give me a call. There's fun. How was the break? Are we ready? Yes. Our next writer here is Missy Latigo. Missy Latigo has a tattoo on one arm of a flying diamond bird beacon that was drawn by her daughter. She plans on having her son do the other one, but she's waiting until he's bored with drawing Captain Underpants. She writes essays, poems, short stories, and satire. You can find her work in the latest Unchased anthology. And what I found out tonight is she also does stand-up comedy. That's going to happen here. It's going to happen. It's going to happen. Please welcome Missy Latigo.
I'm going to do a little comedy trick for you. I'll teach you all about stand-up right now.
I can't see it.
That's what we do. We go, hi, here I am. How you guys all doing? Never say that, it's hack. This is really exciting. I am really excited to be here with my Live Factory compatriots. Those guys in the corner. Some of them are reading. So the Live Factory is Chuck Palahniuk, Lydia Yuknavitch, like a dream team have formed to provide us with this writing group, and it's amazing. Lydia is just like allows us to live our heart vibes, and then Chuck shuts all those down.
And kills the heart.
But it's awesome also to be part of the lineage of Gordon Lish, and Tom Spanbauer, and Chuck Palahniuk, and now us, his little mice, who he's teaching to write in this really specific and amazing way. So that's I feel really honored to be a part of that tradition. So I have two little pieces. King Street Station. From my mother, I inherited air. She never knows what to do. She inhabits a dandelion head and is dazed by the curious seeds scattering from her. I recently went out of town alone for a couple days, not far, one big town and over. And the first thing I did When I got to the hotel, I was to call my husband and tell him of my adventure in arriving. I stepped out of the train station. I paused. A taxi driver asked me if I needed a ride. I shook my head and crossed the street, walked the block to downtown. I knew that I needed to catch a bus, but I wasn't sure where the buses lived, so I walked another block and stopped again. Standing at the corner is a regular guy, also paused, looking at his phone. His pausing is self-contained and determined. I asked him if he knows where the buses are, even though I'm pretty sure he doesn't. A white-haired man, lean, tall, active, red sweater, hears me ask and smiles to himself. I think he is also an architect. I have a nice blue coat and long red hair. I have a nice suitcase and a nice tote bag made by a Portland area craftsperson, albeit purchased at a clearance sale, but he doesn't know that. I am trying to confidently inhabit my pause. Over the last year, I lost the 10 pounds that I gained after having kids, and then a little more, and I'm telling you because I didn't think I cared. But now I do for a moment because there is change in the air around me, and I no longer feel like I am a mother, in which I did. Because my stomach is this hollow patchwork pouch of pale, sinking fabric threaded together with gleaming silver. I would tease my mom sometimes. Her pants were too high, snug over her soft abdomen. She didn't know that they would become a cliche. She still doesn't know. Some things she struggles to understand. My stomach falls silly out of the waistline of my jeans. My overly affectionate son loves it. I want to flub your tummy, Mummy, he says. It reminds him of blubber. He tries to pull on my shirt and squish it in his small hands as we lay in bed. I bear it. I am his mother. Don't I owe him this a little bit? It makes him happy and content, but then I wonder if I am setting him up to be a man. I am on the corner, 14 pounds thinner than I was a year ago, and my things are nice, and the side smiling, sweater, silver fox architect, as if he can help me. He tells me that I am in fact in luck, because the information office is right around the corner, but it's a little hard to describe how to get there, so he can walk me. And I am reassured that I am no longer that ratty girl with $85 in her duct-taped blue suitcase and $60 in her Goodwill purse. I split up the money in case someone tried to steal it. And I am not 25 years old, stepping off the train in Portland and pausing, not knowing what to do for a really long time. And so I walk confidently next to him because the architect and I are peers. And then he shows me to the office and I salute him with a quick smile and a brisk thank you, and I confidently stroll into the door and square my eyes at the guy at the counter. I watch him fumble through his timetable book as if he's never seen it before. But maybe he really hasn't. And then after a while he remembers, oh, actually, I can take the sounder, which I love the sound of. He gives me directions and I push open the heavy door, and then I confidently take a left and I stroll across the busy city intersection, and I feel the huge pulse of a new city squeezing me to life, and then I walk towards the glass building that he said I can't miss. And I see a crowd of people all rushing in to catch the commuter train, and then I follow him and I walk confidently into a plate of glass, like I am entering smooth water, and the crash of glass rains on the crowd below. Their necks king skyward towards the sound, mouths agape, their nice bags falling off their shoulders, and I am suspended in air. I tell my husband the story minus the part about the crashing glass, where I wander off the map of the reel. I am pleased with how I am finding my way in the new place alone. For the last 14 years, I've always traveled as a single unit, even though I am often the guide. The journey is about the both of us. I tell him that I didn't know where to go, but that I did. I want to tell him about what is confidence in a pause, but he gets hung up on the first part and says that I sound like how I describe my mother, and I don't know if I can blame him.
Oh, you're asking me?
Yeah.
Yes. I'm like sitting here just concentrating, like waiting for it. Yes, please.
Okay. grandmother is there in my heart. I saw her a few months ago. I tried to visit my family in Pennsylvania, but I missed a year, so I hadn't been to. She is the reason I go back. Don't tell my mom. Number 2, she had been holding on for so long, making it a point to hold on, saying, "Oh, I don't want to lose that," pointing to her yellow fluffy hair, which for as long as I could remember, she'd get done every other Saturday on the ground floor of the department store. She didn't mean lose her hair though, she meant her mind. Number 3, but it's not like you have a choice, you most certainly do not. She's been saying for 20 years that she's ready to go any day now. Just let it happen in my sleep, that would be wonderful. And then she would show me the place in her dresser drawer where she kept the keys to her safety deposit box so that we could find her treasures. She meant die. 4, a few years ago, she unloaded her antiques and distributed them to various family members so that we didn't fight what we passed, or so that they didn't end up in the wrong hands, like her brother's things, whose wealthy New York City lawyer son, after her brother's death, said just take what you like to the neighbors, and then they got the nice things. Just trifles to him. 5, my grandmother had a gilded statue that she bought in Korea in the 40s. It's a Buddhist lower deity with many arms, symbol in each hand that had long ago fallen off. I would play with her when I was a child, take her and all her other treasures, the ivory ladies, and the Troshka dolls, the plastic thimbles, a modest Swarovski crystal menagerie, and I would lay them out on the oriental rug. She is magical, I mean my Nana. 6, the time before the last time I saw her, her mind was a little shaky. She took us all out to Red Lobster. She takes us out every time I visit. But a few hours later, she asked what we did that day. We were with you, Nana, remember? Oh yeah, she said. And then she would. When I left, she sent me a few dollars from her wallet. She's always given us what she could, even though she's never made very much at all, and what she had was from a life of scrimping. Number 7, the time before the last time I saw her, which was 4 years ago, if you're keeping track. Her and I went to Atlantic City, to the casinos which she loves. We rode the bus there and back. It was night, and when we returned, I rested my head on her, and we sat in silence as the bus swayed down the Pennsylvania Turnpike, and I felt her hair spray, wispy hair, her delicate bony shoulder. I cried very softly as she pet my head. 8, she gave me the lower deity. It reminds me of her. I might be able to sell it for a little bit. It is worth more than we thought, but I wouldn't. I don't know what to do with that symbol. 9, she wanted to be a writer, but had to work to raise her children because her husband left her to be an artist. 10, the last time I saw her a few months ago, I visited her at her place. Her curio cabinet was almost empty. She looks alone still, although my uncle checks on her every day. She has a beeper around her neck and a big sign above the stove that says, "Turn it off." She asked who my daughter was, what my husband's name was, and if I had any other kids. She asked who my mom was. She asked if I was hungry. And then she went through the questions again. 11, I hugged her in her chair, and it was time to leave. And she held my cheeks in her cool paper hands. I looked into her brown eyes, my eyes. I lived to be 96. They watered our eyes. My daughter kept this artificial smile on her face because she knew that pain was happening. And then my Nana, got up slowly from her chair, took her cane, and moved like molasses to her bedroom. And then she opened the dresser drawer and emerged with $60. Oh no, you don't need to. Oh shush, she said, and then hit me with her cane. My Nana, she hit me with her cane because she still had love to give, and in her heart, I was obvious.
Thank you again to Missy Ligo. You can look at the Bowen. Next, we have Dot Hearn. Where's Dot? Oh, I love you, Dot. So glad you're here. Dot Hearn writes stories, true stories and fictionalized stories, and fiction with dabs of truth. She believes in the cross-pollination of art and writing, of theater and creative life, of dancing and words on the page. Her published works include essays, poetry, short fiction, radio scripts, and creative nonfiction. Publications include Hippocampus Magazine, Autopia, Anthology, Prism, Six Sentences, Hermana Resists Voices Against Violence, Sudden Radio Project, and Blink Inc., and the upcoming anthology, Letters from the Void. She is currently working on a memoir as well as a short story collection, which has turned dystopian. Please welcome Dot Hearn. I'm not sure you're doing enough. I don't think you're doing enough things.
So this is an excerpt from the memoir. Right now I'm currently in our online manuscript workshop with Ariel Gore. And it's thanks to Ariel Gore and really the Youth Convention, Dom, and everybody else who supports me. I was 17 and a half, and it was the last week of my junior year. My periods had been erratic, long and heavy and frequent since they'd started when I was 10. I'd never bled less than 7 days, and the longest was 30, which only stopped because the doctor gave me an injection. My period usually returned after 2 weeks, maybe less. Rarely did I have an uninterrupted 21 days of non-bleeding. When I was 15, the family doctor put me on birth control pills to see if that would regulate my periods. "Are you having sex?" he had asked, with a smile, meaning he knew I was a good girl and I wouldn't do that. "No," I had said, with a smile to convince him that I was a good girl. I didn't tell him about my cousin. I didn't tell him about my friend's friend at the beach, at his parents' house, once at our house. "Well, that's good. But I'm going to put her on birth control pills, Mother, if you don't mind." He nodded to my mom, who was sitting in the patient's chair across the room. She nodded back, but looked horrified at the thought. He turned his gaze back to me. "I'm concerned you might become anemic if you keep this up. We need to get that bleeding under control." The pill helped my periods move closer to normal, but they were never predictable and did not stick to the white pill, pink pill schedule. Still, I obeyed the doctor's orders and took the pills every day, regardless of whether I was bleeding or not. So when I was 17, and it had been 4 weeks, and then 5 weeks since my last period, I didn't mind. I looked on it as a gift from Mother Nature. I relaxed into the lack of cramps, the extra tampon-free days. But when it hit 6 weeks, I made an appointment at the county health clinic for a rapid test to see if I was pregnant. It seemed impossible with my birth control and Randy's reported low sperm count, but I had to rule it out. The first test was inconclusive. They required a 2-week wait for a second test, which showed that, yes, I was pregnant. The nurse and I crunched numbers, and it looked like if I carried this pregnancy, Randy and I would have a baby 2 months after we eloped to Reno on my 18th birthday. There was no way I could hide that from my parents. I'd seen pictures of my mother when she was pregnant. Besides, neither of us wanted to have children, and I knew that Randy would be a terrible father. He was an unstable, habitual liar with a temper, but he loved me. I remember the institutional green of the waiting room and the drive from Salem to Oregon's only legal clinic in Portland, with my best friend Marja in the back seat, Randy at the wheel with the $200 in his pocket. I remember taking a Valium when we arrived, which the nurse said would help me relax. I remember that the procedure room was white and bright. I remember lying on the table. I remember not feeling. I remember Muzak over the machines. I felt cramping down there. I felt cold down there. And then cold in waves over my body. Then it was done. They gave me orange juice and told me to lie still for 30 minutes and they'd come back for me. The doctor handed me a prescription for antibiotics and left. The nurse left. Randy came in. I was groggy and said it was nothing at all, and I was fine. We left the clinic and headed to Rose's restaurant. One piece of the story I told my parents about why I had to go to Portland, though they didn't know that Randy was with me. For dessert, Randy ordered a slice of the 8-layer German chocolate cake. To make the lie real, he said, meaning he knew that I did not lie well, and this was his contribution to the truth, and keeping my parents from losing their shit before we got married. I don't remember what I ate for dinner, or if I ate. I don't remember where we bought the medication. I don't remember if we went to the movie in my story. I do know that I spent the night at Marge's house. 3 days later, I was heading to Sacramento with my mother for my great aunt's funeral. I was still taking antibiotics in secret every 6 hours. I brought the pills for the trip in individual white and red Trident gum wrappers and hidden them in an old gum package with pieces of actual gum stuck in between. I kept the pack in my large blue shoulder bag, along with the new pack I'd taken pieces out of, which I could hand to my mother if she asked for gum. I let the saliva collect in my mouth and swallowed my antibiotic before it melted. I offered the pure pack of my gum to my mother as we drove south on I-5.
Thank you a lot. Thank you. Congratulations. You're taking pass. Yeah. Our next reader, Jonathan Oak, is the author of 2 poetry books, Subtly Fucked and Things I Forgot to Say. I like that. As well as the upcoming novel Jerry. He's been living and performing in the Portland area for the last 7 years. Spent several years working with Vamp Reading Series in San Diego, and before that was a fixture in the Phoenix poetry and music scene. He completed a PSI and was a spoken word performance coach. He hosted a poetry radio show, worked underground theater in San Francisco, ran writing workshops and reading series for 15 plus years, and now is heading the dark cabaret band, Bright and Shiny, in Portland, Oregon. Please welcome Jonathan.
Hello, you guys love me. There we go. That is a new piece. It's a little unusual for me because Tommy was like, hey, can you add a little bit of this topic into whatever you're doing? And I was like, yeah, sure. And then I wrote the entire thing on that topic. And I was like, oh no, I'm really uncomfortable sharing my social opinions and political opinions. Like straight out. I like stories normally. But here you go. Feedback. All right, it's gone. It's better. The radio in my skull has the volume cranked. The cone cracks and spits history into the present, and it's so loud that it's hard to understand. News reports and static, we have always known, every one of us, that some lives matter more than others. Demagogues and screaming or radio keening, banshees and demigods, animal spirits that howl against the rain, social media animal rising, bodies hemorrhaging electric ink.
You don't touch me unless I want you to. The trauma of our living builds what we need inside of us to express what we've been through. When we finally do find words, they are not easy words. They are not comforting words. They are sad, broken, angry, defiant words because these are natural fucking emotions. When horrible shit happens to you, it makes you angry. And if we don't find words for it, then fists do. And if the distortion is too much, it jangles the nerves, it breaks down the body and forbids us to live. We've endured too much. Every day, another comment, thinly veiled threat by the powerful against the weak. People are growing tired of this political game of pretending that they are being governed and served when we know that we are being handled. Confined us to our homes, drawn in, drawn curtains, drawn blood, beds as good as graves. When you've cowered beneath a fist or a leather belt or a police officer who sees you as subhuman or a hand around your throat, you learn to use appeasement. How much can I tolerate before it outweighs the risks of saying no? What is the smallest amount of acquiescence I can get away with to make this stop? Yes, sir. No, sir. How much ridicule, how much touching do I have to permit? I'm obeying your commands, sir. I am reaching into my glove box, sir. Trained from youth by parents trying to keep their children alive. How sincere do I have to be? How sincere does this smile, this apology have to be to keep the next bad thing from happening? You're being divisive. You're making it worse. Just shut up. Say it differently. Keep the feelings of those in control present in your mind as you speak, not too harshly. Softer now. Quieter still. Hush. 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 There is no version of these stories that is acceptable because they are awful, fear-filled stories, and you can't tell them meekly enough to satisfy those who are offended by them. Membranes heaving bass in the electronics, marching to declare basic truths. Basic! It shouldn't take a million voices echoing in the streets for you to understand that Black Lives Matter. That a person's bodies are own. And from someone who's both told these stories and been born witness to them, when a person opens up their trauma for you, be quiet, be still, be present. When someone tells you that you haven't had a voice, that they haven't had a voice, you just give up your own for them. My wife wakes up in the middle of the night crying because her body is the memory of her pain made present, history dismissed her entire life. Surfaces at night while I listen. And I kiss the top of her head and I stroke the helix of her ear, her jaw, her cheek. Don't pick apart the details of what another person has done to survive. When someone gives you a piece of themselves, just say thank you. When someone been denied consent over their own life, make sure that every moment you are with them is their own. Do what you're asked to do. When a person who has been told over and over again they don't have a choice asks you to walk away, you walk away. And if they ask you to be silent, then just fucking be silent. And if they ask you to stay, to hold them, to offer support or ideas, then that's what you do, right? And you do what you're asked to. You turn the radio in your own head down. And you accept this as truth. You sing from the inside of suffering. Accept that their words are truth. It took a lifetime to claw through the static, to let loose their experiences. Accept it all as truth. Yeah.
Jonathan and I had a conversation one night that started online about, I was talking about the kinds of things that I really like for people to say here, and I will say that I was specifically asking white guys, usually heterosexually identified cis guys to say something, to speak out. But then we have like all different kinds of intersections that we fit into some of those things and we don't, and I get confused, and I'm like, I want everybody to fucking speak up about this stuff. And we do, and we hear ourselves and we hear each other all the time screaming and yelling and crying and stuff. But when I hear a man stand up, like I really do, when I hear guys stand up like that, they say stuff like that, people have, I've been one of the people saying, shut up white dudes, I don't want to hear you right now, it's not your place. When I hear a guy like this, who's always got our fucking backs, please fucking say something. And thank you, that was amazing. Thank you, Jonathan. I'm so happy to introduce this next reader. The first time we met was in another reading series. We read together in another reading series. And he asked me 2 weeks ago, like a while back, it's like, I asked you, you asked me, I didn't know you were, whatever. We got together and he's like, yes, I really want to hear David's word. So let David's words. David Skilton is happily retired from jobs where, among other things, he wrote lots of stuff other people wanted. Now, among other things, he writes whatever he wants. Please welcome David Skilton.
This is a tough crowd tonight. So, thanks, the abominable Donnie. I've never met Tom Spanbauer, but I feel like a disciple of his because I've read everything he wrote, and I really love it. I'm happy to be a sort of hissing cousin. This little snippet I'm going to read is from a novel that I've been working on for years. It's Out of Control, long. Luckily, I don't have to think about it as a way to make a living. Eating dog food. It's in the form of what's called a recorded oral history, so it's pure dialogue. There are no recording clauses. There's no he said, she said. So I hope you can understand that when I change voices, there's one dominant character speaking. The interviewer is a 30-something man, and the 60-something man that he's interviewing is spermed on their father, and they've just met each other, so they don't know each other well. And the younger man is trying to get this on tape, recorded for his other sperm donor children who have been looking for this man for a long time. Okay, that's it. We're going to drop right into the dialogue. So this is just a snippet, and it's been an education realizing that it only takes a few pages to fill up 10 minutes. And where exactly in Grant County were you born? Well, my birth certificate says Alderford Ranch, but it's not quite true. I was born in the cabin that belongs to the ranch, but it's miles and miles away. It's up in the summer grazing land. But you grew up on that ranch, right? No, not really. Mother never went back after I was born. I grew up all over the West, wherever she happened to land. We moved a lot. Oh, but I thought you implied earlier that you lived on a ranch. Well, yes, I did live there, but that was quite a bit later, and only for about 5 years. As in 1962 to 1967. So do you remember arriving there in 1962? Oh yes, vividly. Well, tell me about that, for starters. Okay, let's see. It was late at night. and I was asleep in the back of my grandmother's car. It was the model she always drove, a cream-colored Lincoln Mark III with all the extras. Earlier, I hadn't been able to get comfortable. I kept sliding around on the huge leather seat, because the road was so windy. She was driving, and she had some priest friend of hers up front with her. And when they started praying the rosary, then I did fall asleep. Something woke me. It was probably the bump onto the gravel road at the driveway. I can still see how the house loomed up over us as we pulled out. It was all weird and lit upside down by the headlights. It seems like a black and white movie to me now. We got out, but she left the engine running and the headlights on until Teresa could come open the door. And while we were waiting, this cloud of dust from the tires slowly caught up with us. It has a real distinctive bitter smell, The dust out there, it's kind of savory, like food. You taste it. You know what I mean? It must have been after midnight, but the air was still warm and dry, and quiet, very, very quiet, and dead calm. Plus the stars overhead were like whitewashed. So let's see, how old would you have been? I was 13, almost 14. I remember because in Idaho, where we lived, I could get a hardship driver's license at 14 since Mom didn't drive. In Oregon, you had to be 15. I was bummed. It meant I'd have to wait another whole year. I had my heart set on it. So let's see, your birthday's in September, so it must have been in summer, right? Yes, the summer of 1962. I don't suppose you recall the actual date. I'm a little obsessive about precise dates. Sorry, I don't remember, but we could figure it out from court records. My guess is mid-July, because I do remember being let out into the exercise yard at the Juvie to watch the 4th of July fireworks. It was maybe a week later that my grandmother came and got me. I'm sorry, Juvie? What's a Juvie? Juvenile hall? It's a detention center for kids. Don't they call it Juvie anymore? No, not that I know of. Well, she came to get me because I was locked up, and Mother was afraid to have me back at the house after what I had done. Really? That seems weird. How bad could it be for a 13-year-old? Well, officially, I was out of parental control, whatever that means. But you probably want me to tell you what I did to get put in there, right? Well, only if you want to. And remember, we can always edit stuff out of the recording. I chose this machine specifically because it's easy to edit with. No. I'm cool telling you. It's embarrassing, but I don't give a shit anymore. I beat up a priest. Well, actually, I attacked him with a candle lighter. Do you know what that is? No? I figured not. Well, it's this long metal tube thing, maybe 4 feet, but it's lightweight. And it's to reach up and light tall candles with in church, it's a Catholic thing. Anyway, it's not important. I hit him with it as hard as I could from behind. And it was enough so that he went down on one knee, and then he was bleeding like crazy, it being a scalp wound, and cursing at me. I can still see his fat, ugly, snarling mud as he struggles to look down at me. Plus he was bald, so the blood was running all the way down his neck onto the white vestments. I thought he would bleed to death, so I panicked and I ran. Oh jeez, but what? Why would you do that? Why would I attack him, or why would I run? Why did you hit him so hard? Oh, he'd been hurting me and belittling me in front of the other altar boys for quite a while. And not just me. He picked on all the smaller kids. Somehow, he could dig his finger in under your collarbone and lift you up on your toes. Sort of like this. See? God, it hurts. You get shocked. Well, yeah, of course, a little, but no, wait. Let me explain. I never hit anybody before. Never. And I've never attacked anyone since. I'm not a bad guy, really, I promise you. He just provoked me to where I couldn't take it anymore. Plus, he was always making crude remarks about Mother. This time he called her a harlot, and I just saw red. What else could I do? I couldn't tell anyone about him, could I? No adult would ever be a kid over a priest, not back then, not even with witnesses, and especially not my mother. He was always just oily smooth to her face on account of the money she gave. Yeah, he knew how to work her, and she ate it right up. I had to show him he couldn't get away with it anymore. Man, this is crazy. Just meeting you, I would never guess anything like this. Well, yeah, I know it's crazy, but he had it coming, and he knew it too. I bet he never even would have reported me if I hadn't set the church on fire. You see, as I ran out of the sacristy and across the sanctuary, I overturned this rack of votive candles in front of the Blessed Virgin statue, as if it would stop his pursuit, you know? God, talking about it now, I can see those twinkling glass cups. Oh, so beautiful, beautiful, cobalt blue. Mesmerizing, they're like gems. And it was thrilling how they arced to the floor and smashed and spilled burning wax all over the carpet, like in slow motion. Hitting him was a pure impulse. But tipping over those candles, that was premeditated. I was obsessed with fire at that time, and I'd been fantasizing about this for weeks. Oh, jeez. Yikes, crazy. Yeah, I know, crazy little shit, wasn't I? Scares me to think about it too. But I've never done anything like that again either, I swear. I still love me some fire, don't get me wrong, but no. Luckily the priest wasn't hurt bad, just a couple stitches, and the fire didn't spread. I just freaked out a couple old folks who were waiting for the early mass to start, and I burned a big hole in the carpet. Okay, well, this is not what I expected, but I guess I can imagine it. So then, after that, how did you get from there to Eastern Oregon, to the ranch? Oh, well, yes, you see, it was my grandmother. Now let me back up. She was really my step-grandmother, sort of. Let's see, to be accurate, she was my maternal grandmother's second wife. My real grandmother died long before I was born, and my grandfather did too. Anyway, Margaret Mary Smith Doyle Sparky. Those were her 5 names, and she loved to use them all. When they got married, your great-grandfather was already widowed, but she'd been a widow was recently widowed, but she had been a widow for a long time. Even when I was a kid, some people still called her the Widow Doyle. He had only the one kid from his previous marriage. That's my mother. But she had 3 sons. Granny Maddox, we had to call her. I think she liked it because she made up the name herself. It made her feel Irish, like us Tarbies, but she wasn't. Anyway, she's the one who came to spring me from Julie. Not sure how she talked Mother into it because those two never really liked each other. Mother must have been pretty scared. Plus, Granny had pulled with the bishop, and he must have gone to avoid scandal. So the diocese and the priest, Waldo was his name, a greasy little shit, they arranged with the DA to drop charges if I went away, which I did, to the ranch. Looking back, it was probably the best thing that ever happened to me, but I sure didn't think so at the time. Really? How so? You mean, how was it good for me? Yeah. Well, it got me away from Mother, out into the world, where I could breathe and grow. I'm sure she would insist that she was just sheltering me, but at 15, it sure have felt like smothering.
Idaho. Next we have Nick. Do you think it's Nick G or Nick John? Okay. Nick G is an artist from the greater Boston area with an affinity for vignettes, napping outdoors, and conversations that confront the human condition. She writes in cursive to hide the butchered spelling that would otherwise raise suspicion about her master's degree in writing. Read her latest at njtpoetry.com. Please welcome Meg.
So a year ago tomorrow, I got on a plane and abandoned everything I knew to come here and write. I'm stoked to be here, so thank you. This is the start to a story called The Rest Stop. Roy didn't turn around. No thumbs pointing to the moon, no gyration of hips. I leaned through the pickup window to try and get a better look, and my glasses slipped off my nose. Dropped down to the fresh coat of snow starting to layer the lawn. Iroquois Service Plaza, 3:15 a.m., January 29th. Dude, I whispered into the cold. The kind of whisper that's a soft yell, one of those. I glanced back at the dining room doors, back around the lot. No signs of any cars. No noises from the front. I darted for the trash door and slipped out. Dude, what the shit? I whispered rough again, waving at Roy, who was hunched over the driver's side. With both hands clutched to my sleeve cuffs, trying to extend them to cover my fingers, I jogged across the lawn. I glanced back every few feet. One of us was always supposed to stay in. I got to the truck and reached up to shake Roy's leg to get his attention. He turned around pale-faced. I felt the slow-motion illusion of watching your car crumple into the back of another. No control. Vic, he isn't fucking breathing. Iroquois Service Plaza, January 20th. My manager, Roy, liked to lean over the apple pie cooler and use a McFlurry straw as an extended pointer finger when he babbled. It was only the two of us holding down the graveyard shifts, and sometimes I think he wrote up the schedule that way on purpose. It had been 6 months since graduation and my standards were gone. I sat next to the register like a little kid at the edge of a bed with my feet dangling. I'm a Tier 3 certified cybersecurity infrastructure engineer. I got hired at a frozen 10 for roadside McDick's because that title means nothing to any employer glancing over my party list of 0 jobs since high school. It's a good day if the kill yourself thought doesn't come till after breakfast, I said. It's not that I'd actually do anything about it, it's just like, what the fuck, you know? I don't even feel sad for myself anymore. I'm just existing with no reason, no highs or lows, just the empty understanding I've got nothing going for me. Snow started to pile up with drive-through windows. The little latches that held them shut shivered. I started seeing a psychiatrist, but all she does is prescribe me pills to mask the problem, I tell her. A burst of cold air drafted through the dining room and ran up my legs. I just want to feel in control again, like I'm actually getting something out of existing, not just killing time. Roy nodded along to my whining like it were a rock song. His feet tapped against the grease train. The drive-through CCTV buzzed from the floor, fluorescent tubes lighting the screen. If you stood close enough, the static would walk across your skin. I laid my head back on the counter and scooched up to prop it against the register. The pills don't help me feel better, they just make me not care that I don't. The grease ring burped when Roy stopped tapping it. He leaned over me, melting eyes lined up with mine, and I stopped talking. You know, he said, adrenaline feels great. We inched away from each other. Bring in your scripts tomorrow. Roy called me over to the pickup window and motioned for me to lean in beside him. He had his jacket on to break the breeze coming through, and it squeaked as I squeezed against it. See that Capital Land truck over there, he said? That's Phil in the driver's seat, dead asleep. I bet his fucking snores shake the damn keys around the cup holder. Human subwoofer. Phil's a regular. He carries something industrial between Albany and Buffalo and sometimes Watertown, so we see him at least twice a week. 2 large fries and a McChicken with Sprite. Clockwork. Phil's taking his post-glutton nap. He isn't the only one either. In about an hour, when Ron swings through in the Sunoco truck, he'll fart in that corner booth for a half hour before he goes, Roy said. He pulled out from the window and leaned back on the counter across from me. Before I could say anything, Roy put an arm around my shoulder and led me back to the front. I cut the wires on a few of the security cameras, sniffed at them like little rat teeth, and left rat shit scattered around. I didn't ask where he found rat shit. Boss man won't check them anyways unless something bad happens. Hear me out though. The trucks come in, the fucks eat, they leave completely unaware of our existence beyond monkey press button and monkey get burger, right? I nodded. Roy clutched a handful of nuggets from the warmer tray and tore one at me. Well, a little roofie mushed into a burger isn't gonna go notice. They're planning to nap anyways, right? It's like a game. We see how loud we can make the whale snore. A few French frying logistic talks later, we watch from a pickup window, shoulder to shoulder. The driver rolls back his seat. Roy slipped over the back door and jogged over to the truck, climbed up the side and tapped on the window. No movement. He popped open the door and whispered, "Sir, did you forget your wallet?" No movement. Roy looked back to me in the window and gave me a head nod, then turned around and smacked the sleeping man's forehead. Subwoofer snores. Roy turned around and threw both hands in the air with fat thumbs up like a triumphant smile smeared across his deep-fried face. He danced to the beat like an upside-down bobblehead. The greasy flap of unconscious skin against her adrenaline-filled hand was like beautiful as Mozart. Deeper snores matched higher doses and made us feel like scientists, DJs at Basehead Festival. And for the first time since college, I felt something. A little rumble in my lungs that lingered even after playtime was over, like a moth bumping around a tiny tornado. My mind raced with inspiration like the first time I touched code. Roy would high-five me and shake my shoulders with both hands firmly planted on mine, and all the anxiety I'd ever harbored was gone. "3:17 a.m., January 29th. Vic, he isn't fucking breathing. I knew something was up with this one. He's all stumbly. There's fucking Pabst cans all over the floor in here." I pushed Roy aside and pulled myself up onto the door frame. Our driver had mixed at least a sixer with a McChicken Xanax special we had just served. Junior year, my neighbor's frat house almost lost a pledge to the same combination. I leaned my ear against the driver's mouth and listened. A faint whir of air tickled my stomach. 2 fingers pinch the nose, 1 palm supports the chin, and a full, steady breath from my lungs to his goes in. Repeat. The seat wouldn't crank back, so I yelled at Roy to help me drag him into the snow. Again, we shared 2 breaths before I began to press into his chest and sing "Staying Alive." "I'm fucking twisted," Roy said. "Dude, fuck off. It's what the Red Cross teaches you to keep steady. Go get some water and pour it on his face. We gotta wake him. His breathing's too shallow." Roy ran for the dumpster side door, still ajar. Just as it swung shut behind him, the driver moaned. I fell back into the wheel and smeared thick, woolly snow clumps off my glasses. "What?" He groaned. "Dude, you can't," I said. We saw you collapse climbing into the truck. Yeah. Come inside and eat something. You gotta sober up." The door by the dumpster swung open and Roy halted mid-stride. The Spriteness hand sloshed in front of him, swallowing a patch of snow under it. His free thumb lifted to the sky. The driver slumped an arm around my shoulder and we shuffled towards the door. I helped the man into a booth and told him to give me a minute. Back in the kitchen, Roy was pacing. "I was fucked," he said. "Do you have it?" I asked. "Are you fucking kidding me?" We stared at each other for a moment and heard her warmer tray buzz. Time to replace the stack. "I didn't fuck up everything. Here." Roy handed me a thick brown wallet. I flipped over the side and figured through, pulling out credit and debit cards. I walked over to the register and pulled out a skimmer, ran each of the cards and walked back to Roy. Tossed him the wallet and said, "You might want to dump that in the snow where we found Bud. He needs to think he dropped it." I leaned around the corner and saw a truck approaching on the CCTV. I pressed my glasses up my nose and pressed the microphone button on my headset. Thanks.
Thank you very much, Nick. It rings of a Chuckish. It's freaking awesome-ish. Hell yeah. I'm gonna kill everybody. No matter what. No, that's... Our next reader, Ian Murdoch. Ian Murdoch, pardon me. I'm gonna say a couple words first. When I first saw, well, the only time I've ever seen or met Ian at all was at the Post Show, which is here every year in Portland. And it's actually produced by you guys? Yeah, produced by Jonathan and Jessica Sanford. And I saw this guy perform and I'm like, "Will you come read it for Tom?" And he was like, "Yeah, I'd love to." They traveled all the way down from Seattle. So I just want to say thanks for being here. And Ian Murdoch is a mound of avocado, flesh, and artisanal sawdust sculpted to resemble a writer who lives in Seattle. He writes conceptual humor, lives creative nonfiction, and causes indie drama. Please welcome Ian Murdoch.
Hi, everyone. Thank you. So, everybody doing these brave pieces, very, very sincere, autobiographical, or revelatory in some way. I figured we use some nice cowardly conceptual humor. I have two relatively short pieces, and you know what you can expect is pretty much in the title. That's how titles work. I don't know how to explain that. Okay, let's see. First piece is called Your Breitbart Daily Horoscope. Now there's 12 of these. I'm not going to read all of them because frankly the novelty wears off. You can only make fun of the same people, so many times. So, anyway, Aries. Time to celebrate the importance of shared adversity. Aries, invite over your friends and light up some candles, but also leave all the lights on because global warming is a lie. And ruminate like there's no tomorrow. Visualize the relief of not needing to invoke the First Amendment every time you speak. Tell that charming story about the time your phone kept autocorrecting libtard cuck to library duck. Sharing your innovative trolling strategies is a great idea since now we have to keep up with the writing quality of Russian spam robots. We must not allow a trolling gap. Taurus. Last week was full of challenges, Taurus. Perhaps you read that story about a college banning e-cigarettes because someone was #triggered by the smell of French toast. This turned out to be fake, but you can totally imagine that happening, which is basically the same thing as it having actually happened. So react. Take some time to heal from this trauma. Stay indoors this weekend and watch YouTube videos of attractive women being humiliated. Saturn overtook Venus in the house of Jupiter last week, and someone leaked the whole thing onto Pornhub. The outside world can wait. Cancer. Stay inside tonight, Cancer. This week's full moon means that your neighbor can see you trying to peek into her window. Use this time to become IT certified so you can program a realistic AI sex doll. Be sure to keep that barista you like posted on your progress. If she seems nervous, that's because she knows that she can be replaced. Scorpio. Be strong and vigilant, Scorpio. Your perfectly natural lust for life is most unwelcome in this dark time of #MeToo. For example, do not be fooled by that cashier who was polite to you for a second at Marshall's. Her open-ended suggestion of "have a good day" may seem like an obvious opportunity for romance, but just take your camo hat and cargo shorts and leave. Capricorn. The modern white male must care for himself because society sure doesn't. With that in mind, make this week about you, Capricorn. Literally. Just like, go find ways to feel threatened. Are avocados on sale? It's a Mexican invasion. And why are all the people on those yellow pedestrian crossing signs black, huh? Or is it legal to run over white people now? It probably is, so you should be careful. Let's see. Aquarius, brace yourself, Aquarius. Something major is about to happen, and it'll be up to your inventive nature to turn it into an opportunity. Perhaps you will be shocked to learn that your public defender is a total social justice warrior. Let your complete numbness to irony be your guide as you spend most of your taxpayer-funded counseling sessions exposing them to Ayn Rand's concept of self-reliance. Your mentorship will pay off when they quit the legal profession entirely and open an organic boulangerie, citing you as their inspiration. Let's see. Okay. Today would be a fine day to experience something outside your comfort zone, Libra. Instead of feeling victimized by the #MeToo movement, Try feeling victimized by idealistic 19-year-olds instead. Luxuriate in your hyperbolic outrage about how poorly considered political priorities of teenagers with uneven pink bangs are as a leading threat to democracy. Next piece, poker variations. This was much simpler. Okay, so, polyamory poker. Everybody can share hands, but you spend the whole night explaining the rules. The first person who says they feel left out wins. Socialist poker. All the cards are 8s. Communist dictatorship poker. All the cards are 8s until someone declares themselves the winner via propaganda, and they get all the cards to distribute to each player according to their needs. 3 rounds later, you have to wait in line for 15 hours to be dealt a hand that's all 2s. You get right to the board of card dealing for a 3. White feminism poker. Whoever asks why the deck has no clubs or spades is ejected for saying the word spade. Traditionally played with bell hooks on your Amazon wish list and Lena Dunham on or at your coffee table. Whole Foods poker. The ante is always the absolute highest you ever thought you'd pay for an ante. Whoever makes fun of themselves the most tactfully for playing Whole Foods poker wins a certificate saying that they are self-aware enough to play Whole Foods poker and not feel like, one of those people who plays Whole Foods poker. They also get to set the appropriate level of performative self-loathing for the next hand. Libertarian poker. Single card poker, highest card wins and gets to explain how they earned their victory until everyone either acknowledges their objective excellence or decides to neither play nor talk about libertarian poker ever again. Also you can do drugs if you like. Gentrification poker. You and your friends with cool hair join a poker game that's been going on for years. After 5 hands, there's a $1,500 ante, and it's only you and your cool hair friends at the table complaining of all the fucking hipsters playing poker. Anarchist poker. First round, you set the cards aside and everyone argues over how to dispose of the deck. Second round, argue about how framing the solution around the deck itself is problematic. Subsequent rounds, players up the ante on problematic statements until language itself collapses like a condemned building of systematic oppression that everyone agrees could never be rehabilitated, or until your parents need the folding table, whichever happens first. First person to imagine a post-language society but unable to express it in words wins a secret moral victory. Gaslighting poker. Why, it's the same poker we've always been playing, sweetheart. I'm a little hurt that you don't remember, but it's okay, I forgive you. Are you feeling well, darling? Maybe you should stay home. Shh, calm down, babe. Everything is fine. That was hard, I'm sorry. Long time to do that. And last one. Trickle-down economics poker. The dealer deals themselves a royal flush, and all the other players are welcome to try convincing them to swap one of their cards with them. Players can also use their turn to complain, argue amongst themselves, or passive-aggressive martyrdom so that the sucking abyss of indifference at the center of the universal self-interest imperative might feel guilty for a second. Thank you.
Ian, thank you. My gratitude. That was a palate cleanser. Thank you, Alex. I'll take more, please. Anytime. I don't know where that voice came from, but apparently I'll sing on you. Just keep it. I'm sapiosexual, don't you know? I like you singing it. Oh, no. Alright, I'll try to gather myself and be a little bit more serious. Was that was like a 7.5. That was awesome. This next reader, the last reader, I am absolutely enthused to have here. They actually let me into Pacific University to to go to school there to get like a master's degree or some fucking shit that like me? Like really? But I shouldn't say F and S, especially it's right before you read it. Because this very dignified person is actually, this is, now I just feel all self-conscious because I really, really appreciate this person's work. Debbie Hall, I went to school with her and we got to know each other in the halls and talking about stuff. I was fiction, she was poetry, we were like, hey, all right. But we became pals and I asked her to read, thinking that she lived in Southern Oregon, and she said yes, although she lives in Escondido, California. So she made the trek all the way up here, and I feel incredibly, incredibly grateful. So please, 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 and this is the person whose books are over there at the desk. How much are they? $14. Yes, so we can work that out in a minute. Please, please welcome Debbie Hall. Debbie Hall is a psychologist and writer whose poetry has appeared in the San Diego Poetry Annual, A Year in Ink, Serving House Journal, Sixfold, Tuck Magazine, Poetry 24, Bird's Thumb, and other journals. She has work upcoming in the Araho anthology. Her essays have appeared on NPR, as I believe series, in USD Magazine, and the San Diego Union Tribune. She received an honorable mention in the 2016 Stephen Coward Poetry Prize and completed her MFA at Pacific University in Forest Grove, Oregon. Debbie is the author of the poetry collection, What Light I Have, published 2017 Main Street Rag Books. She lives in Escondido, California, with a partner and 2 demanding cats. Please welcome Debbie Hall.
There's like notes up here I could read. Right. You know, I'm going to start. I mean, that was a terrible act to try to follow. So because of that, I'm going to start with something kind of in kind to sort of make that transition. So I'll say no more. I do write a little political poetry, so this might fall into that category. And it's called La Bella Confusione, or the Trump administration as a Fellini movie. Making sense has been declared a capital crime for the next 8 years, punishable by hanging. Wall Street CEOs impersonate priests in order to rob the peasantry, who are given red hats in exchange for their food stamps. Salvador Dali paints Trump's portrait. Trump's face is hard to make out, blending in as it does with the orange color wall in the Oval Office. Clocks melt behind him and run only backwards. Outside at a press conference, men dressed in clown suits ride unicycles while juggling golf balls. Some of the golf balls fly off, knocking out reporters who ask impertinent questions. The reporters are officially declared to be collateral damage in the war on fake news. Tired of sitting for his portrait, Trump raises Marilyn Monroe from the dead, rushes a bill through Congress making polygamy legal, and takes her as his second wife. Melania, bored with her anti-bullying campaign, offers workshops on comportment to high school girls. Those scoring in the top 1% will advance to the apprenticeships as handmaids. Overstimulated by the best sex ever in history with Marilyn, Trump consumes all of the bandwidth in the Twitter universe. The tweets normally carried by small blue birds are delivered in repeating refrains by pterodactyls wearing long red ties. Citizens flee for underground shelters to escape the unusual amount of excrement falling from the sky and begin to pray. That's my Trump poem. Thank you. I do want to say, I was actually going to start with this quote from the famous poet Gwendolyn Brooks, who said, "We are each other's business, we are each other's harvest, we are each other's magnitude and bond." And I really believe that, and I think this gathering really exemplifies that. And so thank you, Donnie. this is what actually I was going to start with, so this is going to be a little autobiography, like in 90 seconds. So I grew up in a small beach town. Anybody that's been in Southern California might know Del Mar. It's a little beach town with a horse racing track. And it used to be, way back in the day when I was growing up there, a sleepy beach town. And now it's kind of a resort area. But so this is back in the day at Del Mar Beach. In summer, sleek thoroughbreds soaked in white foam up to their rears, heads thrown back, nostrils wide open. The boy Mike and I would lean over the railing from the 10th Street Bridge, spit on top of the train, then run like racehorses to the sea. Where Sisters of Mercy hiked down the cliff to fish the surf, wetting the back ends of their habits. We'd pick up Mary and race the street, play army in the vacant lot, victory even over red ant swarming. Mary, pregnant at 13, one of the carnival workers, I think, the one who took our money, watched us skip nickels off cheap glass plates greased with hair gel. At the track, a jockey stuck his finger down his throat, flipped last night's steak to make weight, flew over his mount's head into a tangle of hooves, broke his jaw in 6 places. While I was gone, learning more about this good and violent world in books, in pool halls, in marches, the boy came back from Vietnam with half his face blown away, stitched together by VA surgeons and a generous check, so he could still play in the sand, take the drops down the 10-foot waves, glide into steel blue liquid, turn before everything crashed, and paddle back out to the horizon. This next piece took place when I was in college, as a sophomore, and I was driving back about an hour-and-a-half drive in this cool little used sports car that I had just purchased, and it broke down. It was about 5 o'clock on a Friday evening, and the name of this piece is Self-Portrait with Redneck and Vintage Squad Car. Looking back at myself, looking out the nicotine-stained window of an old squad car helmed by a gas station attendant who was offered to drive me 50 miles north to my college. I don't know how the mind works so fast, balancing need against risk as dusk deepens and tumbleweeds roll in like dust storms along the highway. My own car's engine has been stilled like a shot deer, steam rising from its warm intestines. The man sitting next to me wears an oil-stained shirt with a frayed name patch. Earl, words of the dangers for a white girl like you in the next town ahead. Paris, California, not Paris, France, hop on. The words, too many colored people, slide out of his mouth like thick drool. My black boyfriend's face arises in front of me, floats out the open window. Do I say something? I don't know how the mind works so fast, decides to erase an impulse, directs the fist to unclench. Earl tunes his police scanner with the precision of a picklock. Local crime reports fill the car's insides with urgent music. We pass by a lone farm worker, leaning against a lamppost, its dim light yellowing his rich brown skin. Earl sucks air through his teeth. The lit outline of the campus Carillon Tower appears up ahead like a last wish, the rest of my life leaning before me. I think it was Jonathan that talked about people that perhaps don't have a voice, and I found myself writing on a number of occasions about homeless people, and I don't know about Portland, although my friend Janet tells me that's a big problem. And I know it's a big problem in San Diego, but from my view, we don't do enough. So these next 2 pieces are some portraits of some of the homeless people that I've encountered. And this one is called She Walks into Starbucks Carrying a 2x4. She walks into Starbucks carrying a 2x4, her frayed wool greatcoat scented with mold. white hair swirling about her face as she scans the room and shuffles to the counter for a free coffee sample and a cup of water. Without warning, she lifts her 2x4 and swings in the air behind her, sends the other patrons fleeing like a small burst of quail startled from their bushes. Let this serve as a warning, she shouts to the air above her. Perhaps there are malevolent spirits that hover over her, follow her wherever she goes. Or perhaps she is simply announcing herself, claiming her right to walk on this patch, this small patch of real estate, to step across the thin line separating us from her. And this is a newer piece, and it's called Sonnet for a Homeless Woman Named Beth. Her hands speak in tongues, flutter in the air, promenade across her chest, and spotlight the words written with a Sharpie on her shirt. B is for beauty, B is for Beth. Her long white hair waterfalls out of a Padres ball cap as she tips it and blows kisses to each passerby who smiles at her. Beth's neighborhood of small tents and blue tarps lines 16th Street just south of Petco Park. A ribbon of chain link and razor wire keeps the freeway at bay, forms a laundry rack. On the corner, a shuttered market, tacked to a telephone pole, a sign, we'll pay cash for diabetes test kits. Before I went to Pacific and got the MFA and became a poet with a capital P, I worked as a psychologist, and I got to work with a whole lot of great kids. And I had the privilege of working with kids that had a number of both developmental and situational challenges. So this is a poem about a kid that I really miss, who was 5 years old, and it's called Missing Jaden. He is talking with great intensity about vacuum cleaners. Hoover is his favorite brand. He wants to know mine and how many do I own right now. Apparently, he is a hellion in his kindergarten classroom. His principal and teacher assert that he has little respect for authority, as he routinely fails to follow instructions and interrupts them constantly, sharing facts about vacuum cleaners and their accessories. His grandmother cares for him, while his mother marks time with heroin and his father does time upstate. She loves him, but is plumb, out of ideas, and bone tired. Jaden enjoys our testing sessions, especially before and after, when we extend our dialogue about vacuum cleaners. He would like a new one, but cannot afford it. When I tell his grandmother that Jaden is a bright boy with autism, her eyes fill up with liquid relief. Jaden's school does not take as kindly to this news, certain that he is just a smart boy behaving badly and has us conned. It took 2 weeks to spring Jaden from the special school for behavior problems, 2 months to finish talking about his timeouts in the isolation room. At our last session together, Jaden held a photo in front of my face, almost touching my nose. In it, he stood next to his new blue Hoover, its extra long hose wrapped around his waist. San Diego is, or south of San Diego, of course, is a border town. And in April of last year, there's an area called Friendship Park. And families that are undocumented, some over here, some in Mexico, meet on either side of a gate. And they can't really touch, but they can talk to one another and visit. And many do so on a regular basis. And in April last year, they briefly opened the gate. And they chose 6 families. I have no idea how they decided which 6 families they were going to choose to do this, but they allowed them to hug and to have their visit in person. But they limited the visits to 3 to 4 minutes. And that just struck me as something that needed writing about. Janet Lorenzo at the Borderfield State Park, Imperial Beach, California. There will be enough time for her scent to enter your pores, enough time to rekindle sensation, not nearly enough time to savor it. The rusty door will whine open, a gate between two prisons. All that is lost will rush in like a chill, while the memory of touch goes across your skin. Be ready for the cries of seabirds to catch in your throat, their wing beats a warning. Don't stay too long. Be grateful for this opening between nations. Hug, kiss, and hold your mother in that order. Follow the rules. Believe in the future as you pull apart, even as new fences split the earth, as zones of friendship shrink into the shadows like thieves. Ball up the photograph of this visit in your fist if you must, but do it gently. Tomorrow, let it unfold like a new prayer. Okay, can I do one short one? Yes. Real short. Last one. And this is called White Crosses, and it's for Parkdale. Outside the newest city lit with blood, another phalanx of plywood crosses, whitewash barely dry, holy gates at the gates of loss. Holy guards at the gates of loss. The breaths of mourners feather the air as the earth prepares to receive their kin. Around America, outrage and blame beat the ground like hailstones from a passing storm. A bluster as fleeting as the comfort of crosses, the lives of the fallen evanescent as our memory of their names. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Debbie. And thank you, everyone. We have a show coming up, a burlesque show coming up right after us, and we're really kind of tight on time. So we're going to scoot on out of here real quick and let them come in. Thank you all so much for being here. Thank you, Trent Barr. Thank you, Tony and George. Thank you, Brett. Thank you, Adam. Thank you all so very much for being here. And anybody and everybody who read, I'd really like to, I'm not sure what the weather's like, but if we can gather for a photo, that would be awesome. If we can't, that's okay. So, if it's